SFYF Sports, man. It's Lamont, man. I'm back with some more breaking news. I came across this video, and as soon as I saw this video, I said to myself, man, you gotta make a video on this. You gotta, like I said, I don't hate Stephen A. Smith. I don't necessarily agree with everything he says, but like I said, I don't hate the man. He does some good broadcasting on ESPN. He's a great commentator. He has some great outtakes on sports from time to time. And so I definitely respect him in that aspect. But in this particular instance right here, I definitely had to call him out as soon as I just saw the title of this video. So I'm still curious to see what he has to say specifically. But the title of this video is Stephen A. Sounds Off on Tom Brady's latest Instagram post. Brady continues workouts with Bucs teammates. So I'm assuming that this has something to do with Tom Brady continuing workouts with his teammates down in Tampa Bay. And again, I've been told, and in the comments of this video, a lot of people are saying that Stephen A. Smith is being extremely hypocritical because when it comes to the NBA, he's all for these guys playing. But when it comes to a few NFL players just practicing, throwing the ball around, now he's all about social distancing and worried about spikes and with the pandemic down in Florida. So again, we just got to call him out if he is being hypocritical, and we just got to see where he really stands on this issue.
Yesterday, Stephen A., you said you didn't have a problem with Tom Brady holding these workouts, but what is your reaction to this post using the FDR quote?
Well, I don't have a problem with him holding a workout because, as I've said before, I believe you can engage in social distancing while practicing throwing to a few wide receivers who are in attendance with you. I do have a problem with the rhetoric he spewed. What do you mean there's nothing to fear but fear itself? Let me tell Tom Brady, give him an idea, and Max Kellerman would definitely appreciate this considering his consistent position on this matter. Let me tell Tom Brady what he has to fear more than fear itself. How about as recently as 8 to 10 days ago, 3,822 new COVID-19 cases in the state of Florida alone? How about 43 additional deaths because of the coronavirus? How about the fact that over 3,100 people have died from it, all right? And in the state, over 89,748 cases as of 10 days ago. I ain't even talking about over the last 10 days. We've got a
I know what's extremely surprising about this right here is, over the last week to 2 weeks, all we've heard from Stephen A. Smith is how he wants to see the NBA get back up and running. He's continually stated that the NBA has the safest plan. They'll be fine down in Florida, playing in the bubble at the Disney Resort. When it came to the NBA and those NBA players starting back up, he wasn't throwing out all of these numbers with regard to this pandemic spike. He wasn't throwing out all of these deaths or all of these reports coming out of Florida with regards to what's going on with the pandemic. But when it comes to the football issue, when it comes to, Tom Brady and a few Tampa Bay Bucs players, running a few workouts, and I don't even think this is official practices. Now all of a sudden, the pandemic is a major concern to him, and so I just feel that he's definitely been hypocritical, and this is one of the primary reasons why a lot of people don't respect him or any of the stances that he has on anything, because there are situations like this where he can easily show his hand. We can easily see that he's flip-flopped on this issue, because when it relates to the NBA, he's all for the players playing down in Orlando. But when we're talking about a few NFL football players practicing, now he's throwing out all of these pandemic numbers as if that's his primary concern. I've been a big proponent of players actually playing down there in that bubble, but I'm not just isolating one sport. For me, that applies to all sports. I'm fine with baseball. I'm fine with football. I'm fine with basketball. I'm fine with NASCAR because I know that all of these sports are going to find a way to do it as safe as possible. And that's the same for anybody that's working here in America. Workers at Walmart's going to try to find a way to make it as safe as possible. there are still risks involved going to work. And that's any job in America. So whether you're just on the lowest of that totem pole and you're working at Walmart, or whether you're an NBA player, all of these organizations are going to find ways to get people back to work in the safest manner possible. So when you see football players out here practicing, and we don't necessarily know what type of social distancing methods that they're using. Are they wearing masks when they're out there, throwing and catching the ball? Or are they using gloves? And most NFL players use gloves in their practices. We don't know what type of social distancing strategies they are actually using. So that's why I think it's irresponsible to even try to critique what they're actually doing. But because we know that the NFL is going to start. We know that these guys got to get back to practicing pretty soon. Tom Brady's a 40-year-old quarterback who needs to get acclimated to his new receivers in Tampa Bay. So it's not surprising to see that he's trying to work out with his teammates. Again, Stephen A. Smith, man, you're just being hypocritical on this one, man. And, just like we call everybody else out, man, you just got caught out there. And when you get caught out there, you just got to find a way to fix it. If you're going to have this stance on COVID-19 and these issues surrounding it, you can't pick and choose what sports you want to play and what sports you don't want to play. You have to be either for everybody playing or if you have to be for everybody against playing. But it's still another couple minutes in this video. I definitely want to hear them out. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say about this issue because, again, so far, he sounded extremely hypocritical.
Governor in Florida that engaged in phase 1 of reopening the state in May 18th, more than a month ago. Phase 2 has already taken place. It continues to spike. He continues to ignore that as far as I'm concerned. I think he's been incredibly irresponsible, especially in comparison to the fantastic job that Andrew Cuomo has done in New York City. I'm telling you, the governor of New York in this particular matter has done an outstanding job. And it's just, New York went from the epicenter to what it is now, all right, in terms of flattening the curve. And in the case of Florida, they are on the verge of becoming the epicenter because this man obviously wants to focus more on the economy and less on the pandemic. I can appreciate his position to some degree, but there are adroit and more stringent ways to handle what he's handling. He is not doing so. Tom Brady is there. He is a highly intelligent man. He knows what's going on. I assume he reads. He educates himself. TB12, last time I checked, is about improving one's health, Max. Is it not? So therefore, if you're Tom Brady, to be sitting there and saying there's nothing to fear but fear itself is a very irresponsible statement on his part. Again, you can work out and engage in social.
Nah, for Tom Brady and for those football players, that's really the only mindset they can have, especially if they know they want to play NFL football. It's understood across the United States that everybody has to find ways to protect themselves from this virus. That's understood. So now we're getting to a point in time where people are saying that, and people are just coming at this pandemic situation with the mindset that, look, we can either, stay in our homes, bundled up and scared, sheltered away from the world, or we can come out, face this thing head on and find ways to not just social distance, but to continue on with our daily lives, continue on with our jobs, continue on with sports, continue on with politics, and coexist with COVID-19. Because we know one thing about COVID-19 is that it's not going away anytime soon. It's not going away. And I know Stephen A. Smith knows that because he said these same things when he was speaking on the NBA. And he was speaking on how the NBA players should not have a problem with going back into that bubble to play basketball games. So again, it's striking that he's having this type of contentious viewpoint against Tom Brady. I feel like there's some type of bias there with regards to the teams he may favor or players he may favor. But one thing we know is that he is biased toward the NBA. He wants to see the NBA basketball come back. He's not necessarily a football guy. He's primarily a basketball guy, and the basketball is the sport that he wants to see. Stephen A. Smith, you're being hypocritical on this one. We got to call a spade a spade. Again, this is one of the primary reasons, and this is just a small example. This is one of the primary reasons over the last few years a lot of people have lost major respect for Stephen A. Smith. And I can see how those people can take instances like this and just run with it every time they catch you being hypocritical on one thing. Again, I've been a proponent of the NBA coming back to play. The people that I debate with, if I came out and started saying something about the NFL players and how they should be social distancing or not playing or not practicing, those guys would kill me. They would destroy me. So you got to stay consistent, Stephen A. Smith. But the problem with First Take is there's nobody on First Take who can go back at Stephen A. Smith. You know, we all know that Stephen A. Smith is the face of ESPN. He's the face of ESPN. There's nobody on that show who can go back at him. You know, Max doesn't seem like he has a lot of his own viewpoints. And it almost seems as if he's scared to speak against Stephen A. Smith. That's the one thing I respected about Skip Bayless. When he did not like something that Stephen A. Smith said or did, he would definitely go right back at it, and they'd go to war right there on First Take. That's one thing I did appreciate about Skip Bayless. Again, what I see here on First Take is I see one guy who can flip his position time and time again, and as he flips those positions time and time again, nobody is holding him accountable. Nobody is calling him out on this stuff. So it's on us, the little guys, to see the hypocrisy and make sure we call them out. So again, Stephen A. Smith, I respect what you do, but at the end of the day, on this topic right here, you're definitely being a hypocrite.
Social distancing at the same time. I believe you can do that on a football field with not an inordinate amount of bodies around you. I believe that can happen. But to make a quote like that comes across as just very nonchalant and just shoving aside what medical experts have told you and what the facts are showing you about how serious this matter is. I don't like the fact that Tom Brady said that at all.
Stephen A., today, just since we started this show, Florida has reported, and there are those who believe they cooked the books to make the numbers look lower. Florida has reported 9,000 new COVID cases. Today that was reported. So, look, and that's where Tom Brady's playing football. When Tom Brady says there's nothing to fear but fear itself, that's an
See, the one thing I don't appreciate about what Max just said there, he said there in some reports where it says that or Florida cooked the books to make it appear as if the number of cases were lower. How do we know they're not cooking the books to make the number of cases appear that they're higher? It could go both ways. So I think you should not use that type of argument, especially when somebody can come right back at you and flip your argument and use it right against you, because that can go both ways. It's not a very good argument heading in. And again, with Max, when you start off with an extremely weak argument like that, again, a lot of people are not gonna hear you out or respect anything you say that follows. So, but again, this is FYF Sports. It's forget your feelings. We're gonna hear you out, but at the end of the day, with the way you just started your argument, you started it off on a weak premise that could easily be flipped, just the same way I flipped it. Because there are also a lot of people out there who feel that these states are cooking the books to make the numbers seem higher. All right, especially in states where we saw a lot of rioting and a lot of looting. California, there's all of a sudden another spike. But California was also one of the states where there was most rioting and looting due to the social injustices. All right, it was down there in Florida as well, Texas as well, Arizona. So one thing we notice is that these spikes are a common trend in cities that had the most rioting and looting. Now, again, we can play that game. We can play that game and debate things that are all unknowns. So that's why you cannot start your argument off that week. But we're going to hear Max out. We're going to see what he has to say. Hopefully he can say something of his own volition and not just repeat or spew the same thing that Stephen A. just said.
Example of a little knowledge being dangerous. You ever argue something with a freshman in college? They've read one book on a subject, and now that represents everything they know about it, but they feel like they know something? Tom Brady quoting that completely out of context is a problem. So if Tom Brady's watching, and I think he does because he trolls me with Cliff tweets, I'm very flattered. Tom, what FD, a little history lesson. As old as you are, I'm a little bit older. And apparently better educated. A little history lesson. When FDR made that statement during his first inaugural address, he was talking about the Great Depression.
Hey, Max, we don't really care, man. And we don't care. The man said what he had to say. We all understood what he was saying. You know, he said what he had to say. We knew what he was talking about. And he wasn't talking about no Great Depression. He wasn't trying to correlate it. And again, you're taking the conversation down a road that it don't need to go down. So yeah, I'm kind of done with this video. Again, I'm highly, First Take. I actually like First Take. I actually like watching them in the mornings. But again, this is just, like I said, this is just one of the main reasons why people, over the years especially, have lost a lot of respect for not just First Take, but primarily Stephen A. Smith. Because again, we see you flip your viewpoints when it comes to certain issues based on who's right in front of you. We've seen that. We've seen the hypocrisy with Carmelo Anthony. All right, how Carmelo had to call in and check you. We've seen the same thing with KD. How KD's had to check you in certain instances. And so again, when you start making enemies like that, or when you start to have a track record like that, just being straight out, hypocritical on real issues, again, you're just losing. You're losing grasp on the fan base that got you to where you were. But this was an easy one to call out. This was a very easy one to call out right here. As soon as I saw the title, I knew what time it was. I hope they can get it together, man. I hope they can start saying the same thing that they're saying about the NBA and those guys playing. I hope they start doing that for the NFL as well. Because again, those guys, they're in a tougher situation than NBA players. Their contracts are not guaranteed. Their money is not guaranteed. They have more reason to want to go to work than a lot of these sports. A lot of these players don't have, that big nest egg that some of these NBA players have potentially to sit on for maybe a few extra months and just kind of wait this thing out. So NFL players have more of a reason to get back to work than most other sports. So I'm not gonna stay on this too long. Again, I just wanted to get this video out here to show you guys that, again, just some of the stuff you see on ESPN. Again, it's fun to watch, to see the highlights, to hear some of these guys' opinions on players, but it's easy to catch, people like Stephen A. Smith, especially as of late, making a lot of hypocritical comments that can easily be combated with logic. And the same thing with Max Kellerman here. He started off with a weak argument, and again, if they had somebody on the show that could come right back at him with these questions, all right, then we would really see what type of sports broadcasters and analysts they are, if they can start rebutting real questions. But again, they don't. The only person they have asking them questions or potentially rebutting them is Molly. But and as the moderator of the show, I don't even think it's her place to even step in and do those things. So she's kind of limited in what she can do as well. So again, make sure you guys take everything you hear from ESPN with a grain of salt. Make sure you do your research. And again, FYF Sports with another breaking news video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the video. If you have any questions, man, hit us up. Hit us up on Instagram or Twitter. Let us know. And leave your questions in the comments of these videos. If you do that, we'll definitely reach back out to you. If you have any business inquiries, hit us up by email. We'll reach back out to you as well. Hey, but it's FYF Sports. It's been another great video, and we are out.